everybody. Hey, welcome back. Another lunchtime Zoom. So today we're going to change pace a little bit. We're going to do a little recovery workout today, right? Recovery is important. We got to take care of the body. Right? We come in here, we do these Zoom workouts or YouTube workouts, any other workout. To get stronger and to keep progressing, we need to make sure we're recovering and taking care of the body. And not just from workouts, but even just everyday life, stress, all that stuff, right? That all impacts the overall health of our body. And so sometimes taking time to just de-stress, relax, recover, and stretch can help get you back to 100% so that you are more effective at work or more effective at that next workout. So incorporating these things every once in a while is a great thing to do. You should be doing this to some degree on a daily basis. Whatever time you have, do it. Don't feel like you need to have, it's the same thing for workouts. Don't feel like you need to have an hour or 30 minutes. If you have an hour, if you have 30 minutes, that's great. But if you only have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, take advantage of it, right? Any time is better than no time done working out or focusing on recovery. So aspects of recovery are nutrition, hydration, and sleep. So obviously we can't do those three in this workout. What we can do is work on some stretching and some soft tissue work. And so that's what we're going to do today. So I have a stretch band, a lacrosse ball, and a foam roller, right? So if you're able to get those three pieces of equipment, that would be great. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball would work, a golf ball would work, a softball would work, all right? Any of those options will work. And you can even go to your local stores, Five Belows and things like that, and get these pretty cheap, all right? Stretch band, if you have one, great. If not, a belt, a rope, right? That would work. And if not, you can do these stretches without the band. And the foam roller, right? That's great too if you have it, because then we can switch back and forth between the lacrosse ball and the foam roller. Generally, the foam roller is for sometimes some of those larger muscles. That lacrosse ball allows us to dig in there a little bit more, a little deeper, and get some of those deeper knots that are in there. Or just kind of really pinpoint and isolate a specific area using the lacrosse ball as opposed to that foam roller, which is more like a broader, larger area, all right? So we're going to start off with the lacrosse ball if you have it, and we're going to work. So a lot of times when we do our recovery stretching, what I like to do is, because the body is really one big kinetic chain, right? And a lot of times these muscles affect other areas. The foot being one of them, right? Good foot health and ankle mobility is important for the upper body, right? It's good for the knees, good for the hips, and good for the back. So we're going to start on the feet, and we're going to work our way upstream. So we're going to take this ball, we're going to put it on the ground, and we're just going to roll around, all right, on that foot there. And now basically what we're doing here, when we're rolling around like this, we'll use that term shopping around, right? And I'm looking for maybe some of those tender spots, hot spots, sometimes where there's knots and a little bit of inflammation that we're trying to work out. And then what we do is when we're there, I'm going to try to wrap my toe around the ball, push my toes in the ground, push the heel to the ground, all right? And then really kind of dig in there and help open up that foot. We're on our feet a lot, or we're in shoes a lot, and those feet really get compressed down, right? So what we're trying to do is open that up, all right? So now I'm just pushing down, I'm just rolling back and forth here. And really that's, we'll use this term tack and floss, windshield wipe, but that's kind of really what you want to do. You want to go back and forth and side to side over those muscles, over this fascia, over those tender spots, and really try to just massage out all that stress. And even from here, you turn to the side here, so that the cross ball is right around the ball of my foot. I have my heel on the ground, and then I can even push and drive into it. Now I'm going to get some foot and some ankle mobility in there. All right. Good. We're going to switch that up. And we're just going to do the same thing on the other foot. Now I'll go back and forth from talking on this one of the things I want you to start doing is focus on your breathing. All right. Breathing, and I didn't mention this in the beginning when I talked about different recovery strategies, and I should have. Breathing is a big recovery strategy. A lot of us are heavy breathers. We're chest breathers. So that chest is elevating, right? And what we really want to do is be mindful of our breathing, right? How we breathe can cause us to be more of a stress state or in a less stress state. And so when we're stretching, we're trying to take our body out of a stress state, right? Workouts, life, all that is a stress on our body, both mentally and physically, and that can impact us negatively. So breathing patterns can add to that stress, or if we breathe correctly, we can take away from that stress. So I want you to put your hand on your stomach, breathe in for 3 to 5 seconds, and allow your stomach to rise. Hold that, and then as you exhale, feel your stomach compress back down. Good. Keep working that breathing pattern. Now that we're done rolling out the bottom of the foot, we're going to go to the calf. All right, now here you have some options. You can use the lacrosse ball, or you can use the foam roller. You can even switch back and forth. You can start with the foam roller and then go over to the lacrosse ball. All right. Now, depending on how tender that calf is, right? If you use a scale of 1 to 10, 8, 9, 10 being up in that excruciating area, all right, I want you to go double leg. If it's not that excruciating, you can wrap your left leg over like I just did and go single. All right, now we're just gonna roll back and forth, go up and down that calf, and rotate your leg in and out. All right, basically what we're doing here is we're just massaging out that calf. And we're, again, like I said, we're just shopping around. We're trying to find some of those knots and some of those tender spots. All right, now if this isn't that bad for you, you can switch over to the lacrosse ball. Lacrosse ball is not as easy to roll up and down like this. Sometimes you have to move it around, and because it is a smaller area with the calf, it slips out and you have to just put that back under there. But now either whether it's the foam roller or the lacrosse ball, once you do find a spot, we're going to flex and extend. So I'm bringing that foot back and forth, or we can windshield wipe where I'm rotating it left to right, right? And then you can move to a different area, or you can stay on that area, right? You go all the way up and down into the Achilles and that ankle, all the way up to the back of the knee, all right? All right, we're gonna switch legs there. Now we're going anywhere like around a minute here in time. Minute probably is good to start with. You can go a little bit longer, maybe upwards towards 30 seconds, but since we're trying to go up to a minute, adding 30 seconds, so a minute 30. Since we're trying to recover the whole body here, we really probably don't want to go much longer than a minute and 30, just because of time. But you can always go from the bottom, go to the top, and then go back and hit some of those trouble spots a little bit more. We'll switch over to the lacrosse ball here just to show you. Now, the other thing too is sometimes it's a little more challenging, but maybe you don't get into that area as much because the lacrosse ball is a little bit smaller. So if you have like a softball, that works well here too. Again, just roll up and down that calf, find a small spot, and it's nice and controlled. And again, as we're doing this, we're focusing on our breathing. Spot right there behind the knee, so I'm going to stay there and just work back and forth on there, tap and floss, flex, extend with my leg, and just move those muscles over that cross ball a little bit. All right. Now, the lacrosse ball and the hamstring is pretty tough because that hamstring is a bigger muscle. All right. If you want to do a lacrosse ball under there, you can try. I also recommend sitting up on like a bench or a chair, right, and bending that knee
It helps get into that hamstring a little bit more. Or if you're doing it on the ground, even using a softball. All right, so I'm going to start with the lacrosse ball here, just because I know for me that the foam roller in my hamstrings doesn't do a whole lot. But I'm going to start with the lacrosse ball, and then I will move to the foam roller here, which I'm going to do now. So I'll just work back and forth. Now, when I do my hamstrings, all right, as you'll notice here, I'm on my left hamstring, so I'm on the right side of the foam roller. So I work on the outside of that foam roller a little bit, and that, for me, that just kind of provides a little bit more mobility. I can lean and I can get kind of more on the inside, like the groin of the adductors. I can roll to the outside, all right, up and down there. And then, you get to an area that maybe you don't feel as much. You just don't have to spend as much time on it, right? You can move through maybe just 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then just move to the next area. All right, we're going to switch over to our right hamstring now. I'm going to start off with the foam roller. Roll to the inside, get the adductors a little bit. Just keep moving up and down. Focus on that breathing in through the stomach, and make it nice, relaxed breaths, right? 3 to 5 in through the stomach, pause and hold, and then try to get a full exhale, 5 to 8, really empty that stomach. And as you breathe out, just try to relax. All right, good. Okay. Now we're going to go to the glutes. All right, so now we're going to sit up on the foam roller here to start. Now again, this is here, you can use foam roller or lacrosse ball. I'm going to take my left leg, wrap it over my right, lean on the left side. So again, my left ankle is on top of my right knee, and I'm leaning on the left side of my glute. Sit up a little taller, kind of pre-stretch that muscle a little bit. Now here, if you don't feel this at all, you can switch to the lacrosse ball. All right, but that will really get in there and work a lot of those knots and that tension that are in those glute muscles that we get from just sitting all day long. So I'll switch over here just so you can see. So I get the lacrosse ball, I put it on the ground there, right under that glute, lift up, cross that leg under or over, and then just roll back and forth. And you can use your arms to gauge the intensity of it, so you can help support yourself. So you're pushing down into that lacrosse ball a little bit less. You definitely feel those knots a little bit more using that lacrosse ball. Okay, I'm going to switch to the other side. I'm going to start with the lacrosse ball. So now we're going to go right leg over the left knee. All right. So right leg over the left knee, and just moving back and forth. Again, if that's really intense, like it's a 7, 8, 9, 10, you want to move to that foam roller. We really want to stay more around in that 4 to 6 range in terms of intensity. And if you're down at a 4, 3, or 2, obviously you're really not that sore in that area, so you're probably not spending as much time on that, or you might just be skipping right over it. Switch back over to the foam roller now. So I'll stand on that right leg. So I'm bringing that right ankle on top of that left knee. Going back and forth there. Okay. All right, so now we're going to hit the quads and the IT bands. So I'm going to do my left quad first and my left IT band. That means, just like we did with the hamstrings, I'm going to move to the outside of the foam roller here. So now for the quads, you can go all the way down to the knee, all the way up into the hip flexor. All right. Or you can lean all the way over to your side and go up and down in those IT bands. Now, we're working a much larger area because we're doing quad and IT band and really hip flexor too as we go up in this area. So we're going to spend a little bit more time over here. All right, so you can to the hip flexor, chop around on the quad, right? Get a spot on that quad, tack and floss, windshield wipe. So work over some of those sore spots. Get down around the knees, right above the kneecap. You can even rotate that leg out, get those adductors a little bit. So just breathe, especially if you find like a really tender spot, just try to breathe and relax, right? That tense breathing or tensing up, it's only gonna make it harder to loosen that muscle up and create some mobility in there. Just keep breathing. Keep moving around up and down that quad. Adductors, turn that leg out. Go to the IT bands. Okay. Switch to the other side here. Now let's look at our right leg. Timer along. So now again, we're working on the outside of that foam roller. And I just feel like, especially feel like if I'm trying to get my adductors, it just gives me more room to move. Moving all the way up into the hip flexor. Yeah, that's another area that for a lot of us, we really want to try to work on. Just from sitting all day, sitting at the office, sitting at home, doing work, those hip flexors get really tight. Open that leg up, get your adductors, go to the side, your IT bands. Work on your breathing. Try to stay nice and relaxed here. Okay. All right. Now from there, we're going to the back. All right. So we'll do a couple ways on the back here. Now, just like I said with the quads, we're working a lot with a larger area, right? So with the quads, we're going up and down knee to hip, IT bands on the outside of the thigh, groin or adductors on the inside of the thigh. So we gave a little bit extra time. And then again, also too, you're adjusting your time based on how you feel. So with the back, we're working low back to upper back, and we're going to switch back and forth between the foam roller and then move into lacrosse ball if you have it. So I'm just going to start here and make sure we're working on breathing. So you can just lift your hips up, just work up and down, back. Just nice breath, exhale, and sit back into the roller as you exhale. Lean to the side a little bit. And just hit those muscles from some different angles. Use your legs legs to help support your body weight a little bit. So you can get to a spot here right around the middle of your back. My hands are looped on the back of my head, my hips are on the ground. I'm just rolling back up the roller. Just relax, exhale. Turn to the left, open up that flat and those obliques on the right side. Drop down to the right, open up the lats and oblique on the left side. You can do that a little bit. Flex and extend over the roller. Move up and down on the back. Grab your elbow, pull across your body. Open up your shoulder blade. Get in there a little bit. The other side, taking my left elbow, hugging it across my body, opening up that left shoulder blade, and getting back in there for those knots. So really opening up our scaps and getting back in between there a little bit more. Right, so when I hug that arm with my left arm across my shoulder, opening up my left scap, my left shoulder blade, I'm able to get into some of those knots a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to switch over, if you have it, to a lacrosse ball. All right, so now with the lacrosse ball, you can move up and down the back. You can go on the low back and just nice and easy, rest down to the ball, move around, find the sore spot, spend some time working there, working your breathing. You can just lay here with your eyes closed. Take that lacrosse ball, work from left to right, up and down the back. Just find some of those tender spots. You don't have to use your hand to, sometimes the shirt gets caught up in there, or just to place it in another spot. Work on that breathing. Just nice and easy, move up and down, side to side over that lacrosse ball. Spend time on that low back, middle back. You can get to the upper back here, which I'm doing now. And when you have that ball in the upper back, and you can move side to side, up and down over it, or you can even just take your arm, just work up and down over that ball. Grab that elbow, hug it across the body, open up the scaps, find some knots back in there. Switch over to the other side. You can kind of focus on too, like you just rolled it out with the foam roller. So maybe some of those areas that were a little tender, right? So what I'm doing now, when I was on the foam roller, and I hugged that left arm across my chest, I felt like some knots back there with the roller, so now I'm just working in there with the lacrosse ball. All right, good. Okay, so now that was our soft tissue work we were doing with the foam roller and lacrosse ball. So we're going to take and we're going to move that off to the side. Okay, got a drink of water. Try to work on some of that hydration. Now we're going to stretch with the band. All right, so we're going to go some hamstrings, some IT bands, and some quads here, okay? So again, like I said, if you don't have a band, you can use a rope or a belt, all right, or just do the stretch without. So if you have the stretch band, one thing I like to do is make sure we loop that around the arch of our foot, all right, just so that it's nice and secure on there, all right. Now we can, from here, we can put that band behind our back, all right, and just help so we can relax our arms a little bit. Now from here, you're really going to work your breathing. I can use my hands to pull the leg back a little bit more with the band. You need to take a break, just bend your knee, relax, extend back out against that band. Now to help with some ankle mobility here, you can do some circles with the ankle, clockwise and counterclockwise. And you can also drop that foot into the side a little bit, pull over to an angle, get a little bit more on the outside of that shin. So if you're somebody who has shin splints, right, generally you feel it on the inside of the shin, but it's because that anterior tibialis muscle on the outside of the shin is really tight, pulls on that bone. Just work your breathing. That leg relaxed. Some ankle circles, clockwise, counterclockwise. Drop that foot into the left. Work the outside of that shin muscle. Pull it over on an angle a little bit. Okay, now from here, we're going to take that leg, drop it all the way over to the left. Do some IT bands and leg overs. Keep your right arm out to the side. From here, you can bend that knee to relax. Lock that leg out to get the stretch. Again, you can still work your ankle rotations. You can drop that foot in to get the shin. Just lay here and just breathe. Okay. Here, we're going to sit up. We're going to pop that band out. So we're going to bend that knee. We'll bring that band over top, still keeping it around my foot. I'm going to do the band's on my right foot. I'm going to roll to my left. As I roll to my left, I'm bringing that band over my shoulder, and I'm going to my stomach. And now I'm doing a quad stretch. So just work on that breathing. Pull that heel towards the hip. Keep that knee and heel lined up. So ankle, knee, and hip all lined up. Every once in a while, I'll see people do this stretch where that foot goes outside the hip. You just want to watch that stretch you're putting on the knee. So I usually like to see that stay lined up. Good. Relax. Now you're going to sit up. And we're going to switch that over to the other side now. I'm going to put that on the left leg. And we're going to get that left hamstring. So we're going to bend that knee. Put that band around my back. Lay back. There we go. Just get a good stretch in that hamstring there. Pull back on that a little bit if you need to get a little extra stretch. Bend that knee to relax. Lock it back out. And then you'll notice here I have my right knee bent. So again, whatever you feel like gets you a comfortable stretch, you can do that. Sometimes I'll do this just to help make sure I'm keeping my hips on the ground and not pulling my hips up as I stretch my hamstring. Drop that foot in, get the outside of that shin like we talked about. Get those ankle rotations, clockwise and counterclockwise. Bring it across a little bit of an angle. Just focus on that breathing. And that knee when you need to relax, take a break. Drop that left leg all the way over to the right. Those IT bands. Try to keep that opposite side hand and shoulder on the ground. Work your ankle rotations. Drop that foot in. Bend the knee when you need to relax. Drive through the heel. Back out. Work on that breathing. Knee, relax. Lock it back out. Work on that breathing. Okay. Sit up. Bend that knee. Move that band over. Now it's kind of hard to show you when I was on the other leg, but so we're going to roll over to our right because the band's on our left. Now you can lay on your side and go here if you want and get a little bit of a different angle on that stretch. So I'm going to stay here for a little bit, work that quad. So you can lay on your side and get that quad stretch, or you can roll over to your stomach. Whichever one you feel gets you a better stretch. Try to angle that knee around different ways, just to do a little different stretch there. Good, relax, sit up. Okay, so now we did some soft tissue work. We did some band stretching, right? So those are some of our corrective strategies. Now we just want to add in some mobility to it, right? Just to create some range of motion into that joint. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start off with just some spider lunge and reaches. And we're just going to do a few of them. And basically just wanted to do it for a feel, right? So we'll get about 4 reps or so in here, but time, just 5 seconds or so, hold that stretch, rotate to the other side. You just want to create some good feeling range of motion, some good fluid movement in there, right? So we're going to start in our push-up position. Right leg up. Sit there, sink those hips down, drive that knee around a little bit. Open up the arm, look up, reach up. Switch those arms around. You'll notice I rock back and forth here a little bit, right? And that's just me just trying to create some motion. Switch it up here. Stretch, drop the knee around, keep that foot flat. Reach up. Reach up. Good. One more on each side there. Sit those hips down. And you can do, we're doing 2-arm reach, right? You can just do the one, whatever you feel like you need to do. Sit those hips down, stretch, open up. Open up. Good. Then we're going to do some step-ins here to wrap it up. So we're going to bring that right leg up to the left hand. Sit down on those hips. Sink down there. Push that. So I'm on my right hip. You want to watch you're not rolling over. You're driving. So I'm stretching that right side hip. I'm going to drive that left hip down to the ground. Really get that opposite side glute. Sink it down. Good. All right, everybody. That is our recovery workout for today. All right. Hope you're feeling a little bit better.